Look, we're on a record pace. Numbers are up dramatically, as you talked about, both in the U.S. and globally. And I think it's really driven by the big deals, right? I mean, you're talking about 3 times the volume of last year in the first half for the big deals, and almost double the number. Europe's recovered. We talked for over the years about a $500 billion gap post the crisis. Europe's come back. The momentum is broad-based. You're looking, it's driven by healthcare, tech, comms, and industrial, but every of the 9 industries we cover are up, so it's pretty good.
So what's pushing it? I mean, is it macro, or is it really much more specific to sort of the fundamentals of each industry?
See, I've come on. We've talked a lot about macro, but I think this is more fundamental. I mean, I think if you look at tech innovation and disruption, and you look at the need for scale, I mean, look at the FANGs. I mean, they didn't exist 20 years ago.
Look at what Netflix has done, and therefore what Disney and Comcast are trying to do, right?
Exactly. And so I do think that it's driving it in a big way because of the disruptive aspects. It's all around data. How you capture it, how you analyze it, how you utilize it, distribute it. And I don't think this is, the futurists talk about the market of one.
Right.
I don't think that's going away anytime soon. And that the combination of that and the need for scale in an environment where you got pretty good CEO confidence, while the markets, people question how long this sort of bull market's going to run. The markets are still pretty benign, and capital availability. I mean, we raised $100 billion in Broadcom, so there are a lot of factors that I think will permit this to drive. And I'm not discounting macro, because I think I've been watching some of the stuff here today around CFIUS and around trade. There are real potential impacts, but at least at this point, we do appear to have somewhat decoupled from short-term fluctuations in markets.
Well, as a guy who's advised on a lot of technology deals over the years, you mentioned, of course, the disruption being brought, but the Apples or Googles or Amazons of the world, Amazon, to be fair, they did the Whole Foods deal, but they're named all the time as doing the big deal. They don't usually do it, do they? I mean, they don't seem to me to be in the crosshairs of the potential huge acquirers.
Well, you sort of, in one sense, you could say they sort of haven't had to,
right?
Because through organic growth and through their business models, they've been able to do things that others haven't. Obviously, Amazon did Whole Foods.
They did.
The query is down the road, will that change, and will we see it? I'm not smart enough to know the answer to that, but clearly the companies around them that have been disrupted have now got to look for things like scale, and for how do you counter the threat?
All right, you mentioned Broadcom in terms of the financing you guys were able to raise. Broadcom, that had to be one of the weirdest things you've ever dealt with, I would think, ending as it did with CFIUS.
Yes.
But is that a threat in the future? I mean, we're seeing some of these, the changes today in terms of investment. You dealt with it firsthand in terms of well, now it is a U.S. acquirer, but was then a foreign acquirer. And does China continue to sort of sit there and say, no, we're not going to let deals happen?
Look, ultimately, it's hard to know. So anything I'm saying is, somewhat speculative in nature, but I do think the trade issue, coming back to macro, is real. I do think regulation, particularly if it's used as an element of trade policy, becomes problematic for the
But you're not hearing
market.
CEOs at this point or boards sort of say, well, let's put the brakes on? I mean,
I think with respect, if you got business in China, given what's going on, and you got to go to MOFCOM, people are raising issues. I think in certain sectors like semis, hard to see how you, at the moment, how you get aggressive and think that you're going to get MOFCOM done, because the other thing that's happening in these deals, as you've seen, is for these highly regulated transactions,
they take forever.
The time frames have lengthened out to 18 months to 2 years, and that is problematic in my view.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.